It's Maximum News. We're skipping the intros today, ladies and gentlemen. We're jumping right into it. Bloodborne, one of the greatest games ever made. Saib, do you ever play Bloodborne? Probably not.
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay, back in the day. All right. How old is that game? I think it's almost 10 years old, right? Why are we talking about it, though? Have they finally announced the 60 frames per second PC port? You're adorable. Nah, but we're talking about something that's still pretty cool that's related to Bloodborne. Saib, do you remember that Bloodborne PlayStation 1 demake, that whole meme that was going around the internet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it was the same person, but we're talking about something that's tangentially related to that. I'm not sure if the person that was working on that is the same person as the person that is working on the thing that we're about to talk about. A while ago, we learned about somebody named Lilith Walther, who online goes by PSX Bunlith, great name, that was going to take the Bloodborne aesthetic and the IP, like the actual IP, and make a PlayStation 1 graphic enhanced, if you want to call it enhanced, kart racer out of it. They were going to call it Bloodborne Kart. It was basically going to be Crash Team Racing or Mario Kart, but with Bloodborne characters set in the Bloodborne world. And that's awesome. That's really cool. And I haven't been actively following it. I just knew, like, okay, well, it's a fan-created project. It'll be done when it's done, if it's done at all. So I haven't really had, allowed my enthusiasm to go too high, even though I am enthusiastic about it. Well, I found out, I think it was either yesterday or today, that it's finally coming out. And apparently it was supposed to come out in January, but I didn't hear about this. Sony, naturally, and understandably so, issued a cease and desist to PSX Bunlith, telling them, no, you can't use our IP. What?
Shocker.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it was gaining some popularity, and I have no doubt that...
I mean, you know, why allow your community to revitalize one of your best IPs?
Mm-hmm.
Why, shut them down when you could, like, issue them a license, allow them to, like, put it up on Steam for some money, and then, why do what, Bethesda does with Fallout London, and allowing these games to come out and be created and actually hire from the pool of people who have become experts in either the IP or the actual engine, especially when, older games are at their absolute peak right now as far as, like, playability and why do any of that? Yeah, cease and desist makes the most sense. Yep. Just, hey, stop that.
It makes sense from a legal perspective because they have the legal right to do that. That's what I meant. Yes, from a moral perspective, I tend to side with Saib. If there are people doing stuff to help keep your brand alive, and it's helped in some tangible capacity, like let's say with Dungeons and Dragons or Warhammer or any other franchises like that, then why not allow this? But they're like, well, no, we don't want this sort of thing done for our IP, so whatever, they're going to do it. And so, does that mean that the game was canceled? No. In fact, it's still coming out. It's coming out in May. It's just been rebranded as Nightmare Kart. And given how quickly this was turned around, I'm pretty sure that they had these assets on the back burner, just in case something like this happened. So that way they could just input it all into the code and then make sure that it still comes out relatively soon. So it was originally supposed to come out in January, but now it's coming out in May. And this was announced via Twitter by PSX Bunlith, along with a new trailer and some details about what's going to be in the game. It's going to have 20 racers, 16 maps, a full campaign with boss fights, and a versus mode. And it's coming to Steam and itch.io for free. And as far as changes that have been made, we can't really determine too much from the trailer that was shown. The only major one that I was able to really point to was that there was a character that looks a lot like Mikolash from Bloodborne, who, by the way, F that guy. Not because he's particularly hard, he's just annoying. But anyways, in the Nightmare Kart trailer, Mikolash still has a cage on his head, but there's, for whatever reason, a bird sitting on his skull, which the original Mikolash does not have. I guess that's a change. Nonetheless, I'm really pumped for it. It's coming out towards the end of May. I know that as long as it allows online, uh, it should. I hope it would allow online co-op play. That's actually something I should probably look into and confirm. If it does, I'm definitely playing that with my wife. Anyways, Saib, you gonna play this?
I don't know. We'll see. And mostly it's due to the fact that there's just a whole bunch of things coming out in the next month.
Yeah,
We've got Fallout, the TV show, but also Fallout London, the mod project that is very huge. There was a large, and I can't remember it off the top of my head, but there was a very large mod created by a modder for Skyrim that featured cinematics, cutscenes, voice dialogue, everything, and it was created by like one dude and like a handful of other people that he like brought in to do some of the extra stuff that he couldn't do, and like voice actors and such. And that game, that mod rather, I should say, it was it was some kind of a standalone thing type where it was just like you could box it up, but you had to have Skyrim, like you had to actually have the old game. And they tracked like a huge increase in sales when that mod came out. Like the mod came out, the next 24 hours it was a 6-digit number of new purchases for the game. And he ended up getting a job at, I believe it was Bungie, doing one of the lead like quest narrative designers. And as far as I hear, most of the Destiny games are pretty good as far as like narrative goes. It's the repetitive gameplay that people have issues with, and in some of the microtransactions. But that's amazing. Like that's really amazing. It's like, wow, this is kind of huge that we are seeing this, and it's like, this drives this kind of stuff. So yeah, with I'm really excited for Fallout London because it's the first big major project. There's a whole bunch of other major projects going on, so I'm just kind of like waiting on that, and then there's a whole bunch of other things that are coming out soon that I haven't even finished some games. I've been waiting to do a second and final like a full playthrough. I got to one ending in Baldur's Gate, but I need to. I want to do it again, but I want to do it with mods. So the modding system is still kind of like it's all over the place. It's like one week everything's working, the next week it's not. So right now I'm just like I'm gonna wait until they drop those tools, everything becomes stabilized, then I'm going to do a couple of big playthroughs, I think.
Nice. Yeah, so I just quick question. When is the TV show coming out for Fallout?
I believe it's coming up soon.
Yeah, this month. I just can't remember
and
the
it's coming up sooner for some people, faster than other people. That's the rumor I've heard. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. I do believe that comes with an NDA though. So I've only heard rumors. I haven't I don't know anything like I haven't received anything like directly on it. It's just we had some people go, "Oh my goodness, there was this offer to like see it sooner rather than later." But you have to do an NDA thing, and it's like, oh.
I'm just talking about for the general public, though.
Yeah.
I found it. It's next week on Friday.
Yeah.
So wow, we only have to wait 9 more days. Sweet.
It's coming up.
I'm excited. I have decently high hopes. Well, not high hopes, but like measured hopes. But anyways, Nightmare Kart. According to bloodydisgusting.com, they say that it has split screen local multiplayer for Nightmare Kart, which makes me very, very happy. Although I'm trying to find where they got that because I'm looking at Yahoo News and they don't say that. I'll look into it a little bit more afterwards. Question is, guys, are you going to be looking forward to Bloodborne? Nightmare Kart. Are you going to be playing it on Steam? Yeah, let us know in the comment section below. All right. What do we have up next? What's Eternal Strands?
So Eternal Strand is a game that is coming out for it's been announced. I don't think it's this. I'm not sure if it's this year. They'll be entering early access this year, but this is a group of former BioWare and Ubisoft developers who have come together to create a new company called Yellow Brick Games.
Okay.
And this is specifically Mark Laidlaw.
Really?
Yes, this is his actual company, like his company, getting away from all of the drama and the BS and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just pulling up. So sorry, I said Mark. I am so sorry. It's Mike Laidlaw.
Oh, what? Dude, come on, dude! Don't tease me like that. What?
Isn't that this? No, that's the same guy.
No,
right?
no. Mark Laidlaw is the guy who wrote Half-Life.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I forgot that there's a double thing. No, this Mike is one of the main like creative minds behind some of the best BioWare games. So yeah, there's some.
That's still cool. That's still
sorry
cool.
About the confusion there.
But it's like Half-Life is so near and dear to my heart. Like if I were to find that like anybody related to that project was doing something, it'd make me happy. But this is still cool.
No, not the Steam Valve guy, the writer. This is the Dragon Age
Mass Effect.
This is the Dragon Age writer. Yeah, that's his primary thing. He was the lead designer and lead writer for the first 3 games. He was kind of unceremoniously kicked out of the company via EA and their brilliance. Over there, they're super smart, like business platform where it's like, hey, buy out studios, fire everybody that's kind of like at the lead, and then just keep firing people like from the up down until they make a good game, and then when they don't make a good game, just can the entire studio and put everything in a box.
Dude, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, isn't it clear that Dragon Age and Mass Effect are doing wonderfully right now? Never mind.
it's yeah. So, anyways, this is his company. His game, and he has gone on record saying that he does not want to overhype the game experience. Mm-hmm. And I thought you might like this because this plays a lot like right away it kind of looks like Shadow of the Colossus in the sense that you're climbing up and fighting big enemies as well as fighting like smaller enemies as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at the trailer on Steam right now. It looks cute. It looks like you said, a little bit of Shadow of the Colossus in there with an art style that's sort of like a mixture of Immortals Phoenix Rising with Spyro, which I really dig. It's very, very cutesy fantasy. Yeah, this looks great. And this just got revealed today?
No, this was revealed like a day or two ago. Okay. It was teased about a week ago, and then it was just revealed. I believe it was day before yet. I think it was on Tuesday, basically. Mm-hmm. And he said that some of his great games that he's in studios that he's kind of like taking inspiration from, redesigning and creating this new studio that he's doing. He took a lot from Larian Studios, and he has taken a lot from Supergiant Games, which did the Hades and Bastion, and that's great because he's apparently he's trying to stay as independent as he can. He's not doing the things that he found super annoying under EA. That's kind of the synopsis of the interview. He said, I find myself excited because I do see teams that I've managed to stick with together, really digging in and elevating what they are already starting to work on. So yeah, it's very heart lifting to see a good story in gaming currently, and that the studios, because we've had so many studio firings lately, but who hasn't fired a bunch of their employees in the game space industry?
Right.
And shockingly, a bunch of AA and single A developers who own themselves, as a project. It's either like the company, the team members have come together to create the company, or there's the head of the company who's there every day and he's the owner or she's the owner or whatever. And that is how these smaller companies are going, hey, yeah, did you have to fire like 40% of your staff? No. Oh, well, that's weird. I wonder why is it that all these big studios and big platforms and big publishers, why are they firing everybody, but nobody like these other companies are? What's the difference? And it just might be that actual like AA studios is where it is for gaming right now.
Yeah.
It's literally possibly the best place to be at, because you're on the ground floor of something that could very well become one of the big mega companies in the future, like Larian, and you don't have to deal with the insanity of having like 20 different departments that don't even work in your field, criticizing everything that you do or that your bosses do. And like your supervisors, not your bosses, but your supervisor, because the only boss is the board or the shareholders, who, again, you say shareholders, but most shareholders aren't actively engaged in these companies that they're invested in. Like, I have mutual funds. I have I have a general idea of who I'm invested in, and I know some of the big names, but I don't know these. I'm not the one demanding that we get like an extra like 30% increase this year, because I know that that's basically impossible, and the only companies that do that are like short-lived, things where it's like, or it's a once in a blue moon. It's like you go in for like between 5 to 10% investment gain. That's what you're there for. And so when we say that the stockholders are demanding that 20% of Blizzard staff overall be fired, it's like no, that's not who's asking for that. Who's asking for that is the people who are going to write a fancy letter, give themselves a huge bonus for like making the stock look like it's going to do better. But if you've been paying attention to any of these other bigger companies, like some of these big ones like Disney and whatnot, it's like, yeah, that's been a promise that's been going on for years and years and years now, and they're still like, it's still a downward trend. So
yeah,
kind of messed up. And of course, privately owned companies are not always perfect either. I mean, Ubisoft has a lot of problems. They're mostly privately owned. So
right, and like it can go wrong regardless if you're public or private or whatever.
But what we're seeing here with Yellow Brick Games is this is a breath of fresh air. It looks interesting. He's not promising the sky. He's just like, hey, here's a game that was created with passion and drive. It hasn't been connected to any of this messy drama stuff that's going on right now. It just looks like a good game that's created by veteran game creators who are creating. They're not creating the next quadruple A experience,
trademark
that you gotta, it's like, here's a game, here's a price tag on it, here's what we're gonna give you. This is what we're doing. It's like, that seems to make the most amount of sense.
Yes. Yeah, and that's exactly what the game looks like. And you know what? I'm actually inclined to buy it just based off of this 1 minute and 10-second teaser trailer, because it gives me exactly that type of experience that I tend to want from, like, you talk about like that type of game. I just mentioned Immortals Phoenix Rising. That was sort of like the last type of game that I played that was like that. And ironically, it came from Ubisoft. But, I mean, if this Eternal Strands game can give that for me, I'd absolutely pick it up. Quick question. Do you know off the top of your head how many people work at Yellow Brick Games?
I did have their company thing opened here. Our team, let's take a look at that. It's from what I see on the immediate, I believe it's like 5, 10, 15, 20, a little over 20 people.
It's amazing, like, that a game that looks like this, like, up until recently, you would think that a game company of about 100 or 200 employees would need to work on something like this. But no, only between 10 and 20. Yeah, and to further prove just how far things have come, technologically speaking, when it comes to being able to create games, I'm going to move over to this next story side. I found out about this other game today via IGN. It's a game called Jump Ship. It's apparently being headed by the former number one guy over at Mojang, a guy named Daniel Kaplan, and Philip Koulianos, who is the co-founder of Hazelight. And if people don't know who Hazelight is, well, or Mojang, by the way, is the people behind Minecraft. And the people over at Hazelight are the people behind one of the best games that I played ever. It Takes Two, which came out a couple years ago, was that co-op game. They also did A Way Out, also a co-op game, and Brothers. So those two guys are at the head of this new company called Keepsake Games, and I think 8 other employees. So it's a team of 10 people, and they're working on this game called Jump Ship. Syb, did you happen to see the trailer for this game?
Jump Ship. Yeah, I did watch that.
Okay.
And this is another. I think this is another good example of like a double A-ish title. That is just looks like this is where we should have been like 5 to 10 years ago, but we got stuck in some kind of we got stuck in a rut.
Yeah.
Essentially, and we've been spinning our wheels for so long.
Yeah, and now we're just picking back up. Yeah, so in case you guys don't know what this game is, probably I wouldn't imagine most of you have, because it is coming from a smaller developer and it was just announced today at the time of this recording. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine a game that is a combination of Sea of Thieves, Left 4 Dead, and FTL Faster Than Light. Now, it's Sea of Thieves in that it's, in Sea of Thieves, you command a pirate ship and you have a whole bunch of either NPCs or your fellow friends helping you maintain it, and you're sailing from island to island, fighting enemies and getting loot. In Jump Ship, it's not a pirate ship, but a spaceship. So that's one part of it. Now, as for Left 4 Dead, that's sort of more at the crux of what the whole gameplay flow is going to be. You're going to be on the ship, going from location to location, flying through like extraterrestrial locations, engaging in dogfights. And as you're going from location to location, there'll be 4 people playing. It's 4-player co-op. 1 person will fly the ship, and 3 other people will be on the top of the ship shooting rocket launchers at spaceships that are trying to take you down. And then, once you arrive at the location that you're going to, you will all get off of your ship, and then you'll go and try to secure some sort of loot or something, or trying to take down an enemy base. Then you'll return, and then that'll be a mission, and then there will be other missions of a similar variety that you go on. Some a lot easier with smaller loot rewards. Others will be a lot harder and will require you to do multiple different things in a mission. And as for the FTL, faster than the light element, apparently when you're flying your ship, there will be a sort of FTL-esque minigame where you have to manage your power conduits and your ship's other functions while you're flying it. And then also there'll be maybe there'll be a fire on your ship, and then the 4 of you will have to put it out. Sort of that stuff. And it seems like it's obviously not something as in-depth or expansive as a No Man's Sky or Star Citizen, but it's a more contained experience that sort of just gets to the point, gets right to the fun. And Syb, it doesn't look like, like what Star Citizen does, where they're just trying to show us all the glowy bits, the most appealing visuals. It looks like an actual finished game, and it looks fun. It looks like a lot of fun.
It reminds me a little bit of like Bridge Command, that the Star Trek VR game that they were trying to do. And I like the concept was like okay. Like the concept for Bridge Command was pretty darn good. I don't know where it's currently at because I haven't heard anything about it at all.
Oh, it never came out?
Well, no, it's just I haven't heard anything about it. Like I haven't looked specifically, but like, when you're sitting there trying to like look for gaming news and whatnot every single day, and you don't see anything or any reviews or anybody talking about certain games, it's like it feels dead, right? Like that feels like something that's not exactly alive and kicking.
Right. Yeah, I remember hearing about it like way back when it was originally announced. I'm like, oh, that sounds like a really cool idea, but I don't recall anything after that.
Yeah, no, and I haven't seen or heard anything after that to this point, and which is sad because a game like this is showcasing that there is potential for this like kind of like multiplayer ship.
Oh, dude, I'm playing this day one. If I hear the reviews are at least like a 7 out of 10 or above, I'm playing this.
And the nice thing is, I did when I was watching the video on it, I was like, the first person FPS gun mode is gonna like make me hurl. But strangely enough, I was watching them watching the pilot fly the ship, and I'm like, that I could do. Like that
Yeah.
this is like cakewalk, and especially as the other players are the turrets, it's like that's very, very cool.
Yeah.
Apparently there is like third person in it when it comes to some of the like there's
Yeah.
a gliding ability and stuff like that. It's like
Yeah. It
that.
seems like whenever you arrive at whatever location that you're headed to, the spaceship that you're on will hover, and then
Mhm.
the person that you're playing as will jump off the ship and then glide to whatever location that they're supposed to go to, and that will be in third person. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, this is I mean, as a concept of a new genre, because that's really what this is. It's like it is a combination of you have a ship management system where you're like taking care of like events happening on the ship. Then there's the firing turret mode where you're playing essentially as a turret or the pilot of the ship. And then the mode of like first person is like that's enough to say that it's more or less a new genre, right?
Yeah.
Like the Vampire Survivors is just a bullet hell game, but in reverse. So it's not like bullet hell games are brand new and they've never been done before, but a reverse bullet hell is something that we haven't typically seen in older games. So it's like this is I would say this is a new genre, and this is looking like really cool. And the thing that it reminds me a lot of is it reminds me a lot of the general concepts and the teamwork that's involved in something like Helldivers. And this potentially is where they can do amazingly well, like just like really bang it out of the park. This is potentially where we're looking with that kind of stuff, because this is the experience that's coming up that seems to be like really growing on people, is like give us that multiplayer component to have fun, but like do it in a different way, and then don't hammer us with live service BS. So yeah,
Yeah.
this looks like it's looking really, really cool. I do hope um I don't see why they couldn't add a third person camera for the players, because like you already have all the animations and whatnot there
Mhm.
because you can see the other players doing their stuff. So I hope that's something that they add in or add to or tweak at some point. That would be kind of nice.
Yeah. Yeah. That's by the way, that would be nice. But yeah, I do wonder because this is sort of like the type of game that I think could be ripe for some sort of microtransactions. I hope not. I hope if anything, they're just going to allow people to just purchase aesthetics. Like they'll just make us pay something up front, and then just leave it be, and then just let it be like Left 4 Dead or something where you just add expansions later on, and people will play it in perpetuity forever. Uh, Although I don't know, I don't imagine it would be as revolutionary as something like Left 4 Dead, but it still looks like a lot of fun, and I think we should put it on all of our radars. All right, moving on to the next story. What do we have up next? Oh, yeah, what's going on with CD Projekt Red or CD Projekt or however the hell they
So
pronounce it?
CD Project Red has put out their essentially looking back at 2023.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Now
so mhm.
they suffered quite a bit from the now they did have a successful on paper. They were financially successful in the initial release of Cyberpunk 2077. However, respect wise, they lost pretty much everything that they had gained.
Right.
Like there was it 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 got progressively worse as it went on, and it was a lot of the excuses and stuff like that. Like I was okay with the idea of like, look, um you can't expect this thing to run well on a 10-year-old piece of hardware. Like I mean, and again, that goes back to this whole like we've been stuck in a lull for over 10 years, spinning our wheels. And so the idea that some people had of like demanding that a new gen game work on a 10-year-old piece of hardware is ludicrous. And I never defended that, but I didn't like that they allowed that to kind of like be there. Like
Yeah.
it was always my opinion that they should have like, our tagline on the podcast was when
When
it's
it's
ready.
ready. Yeah.
And we spoke with many, many developers, and that was always our thing. It's like push to have this done when it's ready. So a big expansion and patch came out obviously last year, and It fixed the game. The game is now great. The game is now amazing. In fact, there was a new mod showcase today where somebody had used some kind of like they had up-resed everything in the game to
Uh-huh.
like super ultra like real
Oh,
life
photorealistic?
photorealistic
Yeah, dude.
graphics.
That I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, at
Yeah.
first I was like, I watched people reacting to it and they're like, no way, no way, no way, this is not, no, this is a dude with a camera with a bike, and then they see a cyber vehicle and they're like, or not. What
Right.
the, WTF? Oh my goodness. And then it just got better and better and better. And it's like, now it was very chunky.
Sure.
Like you could tell that the system was having a hard time with it. But it's like, that's great to see that kind of stuff, because that means that, the culture around Cyberpunk has gotten a lot better. People have kind of like forgiven them in a sort of way, and like are engaging a little bit more. Not everybody, and you don't have to feel like you're being pressured to, but it's just good to know that even from their own perspective, as they look back at 2023, that everything's back on track. They're doing great for profitability. Everything's back. They haven't had to do a big round of layoffs this year
Mhm.
or last year. Things are moving along quite well, very smoothly, and things are getting better. And it's like, I'm hoping that they have learned their lesson and that they are now moving in a better direction. I still think there's maybe one or two folks at the company who should probably move on. But overall, I think that I'm not going to blame everybody for the mistake of one or two people. Uh, um,
Yeah.
you
You
have
don't
to
blame the
remember that
devs for the decisions of
it's
the
humans.
executives.
Yeah, it's humans, and it's not always just the executives. It's like it's a mixed bag, right? It's a mixed bag. So, but looking at this, seeing where they are, seeing how healthy they are, this looks like they are finally out of that little bit and they're now moving in a new direction. And I'm hoping that it's going to be like very good. They also do credit the fact that the excellent reception of the anime Cyberpunk Edge
Yeah.
Runners was huge.
Mhm.
And there will be this is a big, so I'm going to quote this. I'm going to quote this because I'm going to mess this up if I don't. We intended to work on multiple projects in the framework of our franchises, including projects which go beyond the video game field. In the case of Cyberpunk, the next challenge, following the heels of the excellent reception of Cyberpunk Edge Runner anime series, will be a live action project developed in collaboration with a renowned anonymous content production studio.
Uh-huh.
So we're getting a Cyberpunk related live action project.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. Well, I mean, I'll believe that as much as
When you see it, and
Yeah.
and I have to preface, when the initial announcement went out about a Fallout TV show, I think it's been like 6-7 years now. Like they talked about the idea of it, and they kind of like that started to go around as a rumor. That's essentially what this is.
Yeah.
They're working with a renowned anonymous content production studio. That means that the studio is not ready to announce their collaboration with CD Projekt yet.
Mhm.
Probably they're engaging on the project at a different pace than the studio is, as far as like what they're providing and what they're doing, whether it's story writing or something like that. We don't really know.
Mhm.
But moving forward, it's looking like it has some interesting potential. So things are looking good. Things are looking healthy at CDPR. They're finally back on track.
Nice.
So good. Congratulations.
Well, last question on
Thank you.
that. Do we know how well Phantom Liberty sold?
I do believe I got some.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so update 2.0, the Phantom Liberty expansion of Cyberpunk 2077 was released in September and met with enthusiastic reception on part of the gamers and the gaming media alike. This resulted in a strong sales for both titles. Just over 3 years, our cumulative revenues from sales of the game, which comprise, I have bit my tongue today, so I'm a little
It's okay.
tongue-tied. I apologize. Comprised of Cyberpunk franchises exceeded 3 billion PLN. I believe that's the Poland Polish monies, which is worth a lot less than the dollar or the UK or the euro, if you're wondering.
Yeah, they didn't make $3.6 billion.
Yeah, would be nice. Further attesting to the strength of the IP, remarks Pivrato.
Don't even bother. It's okay. It's he. Who's he? CFO. There you go. Yeah.
CFO. The CFO. And again, I do apologize. But I always find it fun trying to pronounce Polish, and we have some Polish fans, and it's always fun to try and like pronounce various words that they give us, and then they laugh at us at how silly we are. So yeah, it's all in good fun. The success of Phantom Liberty and the reinvigoration of the positive sentiment surrounding the base of the game are crucial for further growth, which is rooted in building strong, widely recognized brands. So they really do acknowledge in their official statements here that they really messed up and that they had a lot of negativity around the game, and they have since crawled back a lot of that into positive. There is still, of course, a lot of people who are very angry with them, but overall, I'd say that things are back on track. So I'm excited about that. I'm thankful for that, and I'm hoping that they can move forward. They can move on
right.
Because and again, there are a handful of people that are still there that I have some serious disagreements with, but that is not representative of everybody at the studio and all projects at the studio. So yeah, we'll keep our eye on that.
Yeah, just don't do with The Witcher 4 what happened with Cyberpunk 2077. Okay, just
please.
Hopefully that
when it's ready. Make a plan, stick with it, stick as much as you can within that plan, and advance only if you believe it is 100% needed.
Right.
So, yeah.
And from what I understand, they're moving over to Unreal Engine 5 for The Witcher 4, so that will just eliminate like most of the problem that Cyberpunk 2077 had, which was the bugs.
I do feel that was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. I think
it's Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that the Unreal Engine is not good. It probably is better, but there is a danger when all studios move over to the same thing, because when that thing crashes or becomes a problem or whatever, it's like you want to have a little bit of like competition.
Sure.
I guarantee you, if the Space Aliens in Independence Day had more than one operating system, they probably could have fixed that bug before they exploded. just as a generalized real world, totally happened experience that we can all attest to, because we've all been there.
Yeah, we've all been there. We've all inserted floppy disks into alien mainframes. Come on. All right, let's move on from those newer games, and go into older games. So what's going on with the older games, Syb?
So just there's been some amazing stuff happening with gaming recently, and one of the things that's been kind of interesting to see is how much old games right now are like how they're going crazy. It's really interesting that, and again, this happened to me just this weekend at my family's place for Easter, and my young, very very young, very very young nephews were playing the Wii. And they were playing games on I think it might have been Netflix, like the Netflix game system, and they were playing these arcadey, old-fashioned, very basic, what most people would call or reference or think about as indie games. Like, they have the ability to play a whole bunch of like other games that are way more newer and way more bigger, but what are they playing? What's their main games? It's like Minecraft, and then they're getting into like old, like 30 either games that are old 32-bit or 64-bit games, or they're playing games that emulate that style and that look, right? And just overall, there was an article put out here that talks about how indie games and game studios platforms like Steam are showing this huge uptick in older games. And new data indicates that 60% of playtime went to 6+ year old games. So games that were older than 6 years, and that was that's 60% of the playtime in game media right now on various platforms. That's really, again, very shocking.
And how do they define old? Like how?
So anything that's older than 6 years.
6 years.
So, yeah, so anything that's older than that. So yes, that does include things like Skyrim and whatnot, but it also includes a lot of like much older games. Like we're talking like really old games. I know that a lot there's a handful of like older type games that have really taken off recently, and the whole like old-fashioned graphics are really in right now, to the point where there's a bunch of people playing that stuff. So that's really, that makes me have, and I think the thing that made me the most happy with this is the concept that people are getting back into games that had more heart.
Yeah.
Because it's not like new games don't have heart. It's a lot of really good games that have heart. Obviously, Baldur's Gate 3. But there's a lot of like amazing roleplay RPGs, amazing game mechanic type things. Like we've talked about, Mario, the older versions of Mario. It's like that stuff is sticking more, and it's connecting more with players. And I think part of the reason is in some cases it is just a pick up and play. And it's not a, hey, you have a new battle pass that you have to do today. Have you done the new battle pass today? Your missions are there. Oh, but if you don't grind for 3 hours today, you're going to miss out, and then you're going to lose all those rewards, and you're not going to have them. And then you're not going to have the new helmet with the carrot sticking out of it.
Right.
Like you want the new helmet with the carrot sticking out of it. It's like, no, I really don't. And some people are clicking with that, and that's like, it's amazing to me to see how like young kids can see a new fancy game and they're like, oh, cool. But then they can see like, Zelda 3. And they go, oh, wow, this is amazing. I want to play this, And it's like, yeah, they could play the brand new Zelda game, but they also really enjoy and can connect very quickly with that older game concept. So
yeah,
very cool.
I do think there's merit to the notion that because there's so many games that are out there right now, and so many of them are sort of predatory in the way that they try to engage their audience, that there are going to be a large number of people, however large, a decent sized number of people that are going to be looking back to the past to engage with the classics and try to figure out what is it about these games that makes them stand out as sort of the canonical games that every gamer should play. And what you just said with like Zelda 3 or games like Chrono Trigger or the original Final Fantasy games, I think that people will continue to go back to those games, especially in the modern times. Now, I do question to what degree that has happened so far, because I look at, like, I don't know where this study you're referencing is getting their numbers from, but I look at the Steam charts right now.
It's from Newzoo.
Newzoo? And do they say what games in particular people are going back to play?
Yeah, they break it down into they do a large breakdown in it.
Okay.
And there is a lot of things like Fortnite, GTA, League of Legends, Minecraft, Roblox, but some of those games, I mean, Minecraft is considered an indie game, or not indie. It's considered an ancient game at this point because it's been out for so long.
Right, but it's always being updated.
Yes, yes, exactly. So there is a little bit of crossover with that, but just as a general thing, it's like, this is not the first time that I've heard this. This is just, this article in and of itself is talking about the data coming out of Newzoo, and the reporting from the official reporting from the industry. But I've also heard this a lot from like people in the industry. It's like, It's a lot of older games and older game concepts that are doing really good right now and are drawing in more interaction than some newer titles, like some of the stuff that's come out in the last couple months that has been underwhelming.
Right. But here's my problem. So I'm looking at just the first graphic that's a part of this study. And the games that I'm seeing that are older than 6 or 7 years are games like you said, Minecraft, Counter-Strike, League of Legends, Grand Theft Auto 5, Roblox, EA Sports, Apex Legends. I think that's 6 years plus older. Rainbow Six Siege. What do a lot of these games have in common? Well, it's that FOMO, right? It's that. So, I do still think that there's merit to what your underlying argument. I just think that there's still a while to go before that switch happens.
Yeah. And it is important to remember that there will always be, like, I think FIFA is one of the dumbest games in existence, period. I think out of like brain rot games, FIFA and Call of Duty is probably one of the worst like things in gaming landscape. FIFA is just the same. It's just a soccer game that relies entirely on FOMO, picking up the newest stuff, getting these like easy clicks. The tournament system is archaic and not very interesting. You can't even do like minor like leagues for game events, like local game events. It's like you can't do anything that's like interesting or unique in especially when you're comparing that to like some of the mini circuits and mini tournaments that a game like League of Legends does, that they've built and allow their communities to do and run and stuff like that. Not to say that there's none, but it's not built into the game to assist people. And it's probably one of the worst things. But there is a group of players on gamers in existence that is all they play. And that is all the capacity that they have to play.
Yep.
I don't know why. I don't know why that's so successful, but those kinds of things, they're always there. So you kind of discount them and you look at the other stuff that's not at the top of that list. And you can check those out on things like Steam and stuff like that. It's like erase the things that the average kind of low end gamer will automatically pick up, and you focus on more interesting titles that are a little bit more nuanced, because that nuance, that's where trends are set. Trends aren't set by people playing FIFA. People will continue to play FIFA and will continue to play a lot of FIFA, and a lot of people will spend a lot of money on FIFA, but that is not where the new trending stuff in gaming comes from. You don't have anybody coming out of a FIFA studio going, "Oh my goodness, I just invented a new game genre. It's called, Vampire Survivors." It's like that doesn't happen.
No,
that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen on a corporate level. It doesn't happen on a minor or a major publisher level. It happens entirely in smaller niche and older community type games. That's where that kind of stuff is, and then that is the wave that creates the things that create and spin stuff like Baldur's Gate and Helldivers and these other titles, where it is shaping stuff, but it also brings up older games out of the past. Celeste is still a very popular game amongst other things, where it's like this stuff is like 10 years old at this point, and some of these games are more than 10 years old at this point. Other games coming from way back since like my early childhood, things are coming back and people are picking up titles and going, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So I had another study that somebody sent me, but I hadn't had a chance to get around to it, to quote it yet. So
that's okay. Yeah. I think it will happen over the next few years, because people ultimately, at the end of the day, the market is going to be driven by people that are seeking out quality. And even though there is a substantial amount of people that don't really, they just buy the yearly releases, the people that do seek out quality bear enough of the market share that will continue to be sort of the primary factor that motivates the market. And I think it's going to be people going back to older games, unless it is just people in the future looking towards AA studios, like we were talking about before, in indie studios, looking to make those newer experiences that are of good quality. All right. I'm starting to lose my voice for some reason. Forgive me. Let's just conclude on this before we finish. Speaking of older games, Zybe, one of my favorite YouTubers is a gentleman by the name of Ross Scott. He runs a YouTube channel called Accursed Farms. He is also responsible for my all-time favorite YouTube series, a series called Freeman's Mind. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Zybe, but it's one of the most hilarious and intelligently written things that I've ever come across in any medium. Basically, the whole premise of Freeman's Mind is it's the entire first Half-Life game. But you know how Gordon Freeman is a silent protagonist? Yep. Well, it's just Ross Scott narrating what's going on in Gordon Freeman's mind at any particular point in that game. Now, I know it sounds like it can get really old really easily, but it's not. It is of the exact same level of quality and excellent writing all the way up until the end. He's amazing. And he's not just amazing for that reason. He does a lot of other great stuff. He does in-depth analyses of these really obscure games. Sometimes, well-known games, but mostly obscure games. But recently, for anybody who's been following him, you'll know that he's been trying to keep track of games that are dying or are dead. Games that you can't access anymore, that sort of thing. It's something that he, to paraphrase him, has been growing resentful for the past 10 or 15 years. So resentful that a couple months ago, he put out a video saying that he's had enough. And sort of the thing that sort of set him off was Ubisoft announcing that they were going to terminate the servers for an old game called The Crew. Now, I never played The Crew, but a lot of people did. Apparently, 12 million copies of that game were sold. And from what I understand, the selling point of the game was that you could drive across a pretty efficiently simulated replica of the United States. Like, not one-to-one, obviously, but like decently enough so that you can feel immersed and you can drive long distances and stuff like that. Sounds interesting, but I never played it. The thing is, Ubisoft announced recently that they're going to be taking the servers offline for The Crew so that it becomes unplayable. Like, you can own a copy of the game, but it won't do anything. And not only has this happened with The Crew, the Crew was just the game that finally set Ross off and making him want to do something. It's happened with other games, games like Star Wars Galaxies, Project Spark, the first Overwatch, Digimon Heroes, Marvel Heroes, Battlestar Galactica Online, The Sims Online, Battlefield 2142, RuneScape Classic, Final Fantasy XI. And these are just to name a few of the ones that Ross refers to in this video that I'm citing. So, because he's tired of video game companies being able to get away with this, he put out a video telling people, okay, here's what we're going to do. We are going to petition video game companies and the government to get them to enact legislation to make it so that when a company makes a game, they make it so that you can be able to play that game indefinitely. You don't have to be required to be connected to the publisher's server or affiliate parties for it to function. You can have, even if it's not, there's no offline option at launch, if the time comes where the online servers never work, there's got to be a patch that's made so that they can allow offline play, or at the very least have private hosting enabled, so that games like The Crew can continue to work for people that want to play them. This includes games with microtransactions, and you would imagine that video game companies would try to work around legislation like this by including end-user license agreements. No, Ross Scott took that into account and says that he wants to make sure that any end-user license agreements don't try to circumvent that. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm telling you guys all about this because Ross has made it very easy for people who are concerned about this thing for you to be able to go and do something. So, he put up a website called stopkillinggames.com. If you go there, on the front page, it will ask you, what country are you from? And you click on that country, and it will tell you exactly what you can do and how you can do it as quickly as possible. so that you're not concerned about, oh, how much time is this going to take me? No, you can do it right now. Just go to stopkillinggames.com. It'll probably take you a couple minutes, and then you can see what sorts of things you can do. You can sign a petition so that governments can respond to them, along with a couple of other things that, on the website. I actually looked at it. Ross ranks them as high priority or low priority, and tells you how long it takes for you to do them. I haven't done it for myself yet, but that's just because the options that are available to Canadians aren't there yet, but they are for a bunch of other countries. So if you're part of the United States, Brazil, UK, France, wherever, especially France, because that's where Ubisoft is headquartered, go to that website, make your voice known, be the change that you want to see. Make sure that companies cannot keep getting away with this. Don't make it so that when you purchase a game, 10 years later, that copy becomes useless. So, Syb, we've been talking about this issue for a long time. Ross is finally taking it upon himself to do something. Your reaction to this?
This is good. We've had and I hope he becomes the uniting voice, because there are a lot of side projects that have been going on for a long time, that are in the same kind of field, from the video game museums to some other smaller attempts to stabilize this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's true. It's not just the. I think one of the worst things that you can do when it comes to art, there's three things that are just horrendous, abominable, so to speak. One is censorship. It's like censorship doesn't work. It's not good. There is a level of censorship that is needed, obviously, just for human decency. From the perspective of human decencies, like there's censorship rules that we have to abide by, but the censorship rules that we face in video gaming and in other places are often there just because it's not trying to protect anything, it's not trying to foster anything, it's just there to oftentimes be a legal hammer with which to hit people with, and that's not good.
Hey guys, just wanted to let you know that unfortunately Syb got cut off because at my place the internet went out. We've been having internet troubles. We're trying to get that looked into quickly so that way we don't continue to have this problem. It just goes out at random intervals. But yeah, Syb just essentially ends with agreeing with everything that Ross is doing in order to help preserve games. So yeah, that'll just do it for this episode of Maximum News, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. Like, comment, subscribe. Yeah, we'll see you next week when we do the next episode of Maximum News, okay? Peace out, stay yellow. Bye-bye.